Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
Hi, I'm Janice Baker. Sorry, couldn't help myself. And how do we make sense of life before we leave?
Well, probably just go fishing. That and more on this week's episode of
Our Time.
I'm glad you said that. Are you a fisher person?
Oh, look, I enjoy it when we catch something, but if we don't, then it's boring.
Do you sit somewhere and read a book?
No.
Don't you? Well, look, I've got a book that maybe you should consider reading right here.
Oh, I thought you meant while I was fishing. I don't read while I'm fishing.
No, because we not
read.
only have the book, but we also have the author of this book. This is Yvonne Nicolas. Yvonne, thanks for joining us on Our Time.
Oh, look, it's just a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Lovely.
Yvonne, this is a really interesting book because making sense of life before we leave. What does the leave part mean?
Yeah, that catches everybody.
Yes.
That's my brother was Lee, and I was always Eve to him, and I was born on his first birthday on November the 15th. And so we were soulmates. And Leon's a central figure in the book, and the whole mission is about mental health and raising funds from the profits of the book and everything else associated. There's a very big vision, United Action for Life, which Kevin Sheedy from the Legends and quite a few of the AFL support this vision and this mission. It's very rampant, as you would expect, in the football world, as far as drugs, alcohol, suicide, depression.
Well, it's the pressure people are put under, isn't it?
It is.
The pressure to perform, and then what happens if you don't perform well that day? You must feel terrible.
But also, Yvonne, why the book? How did that come about, and how long did it take you to write it?
Well, actually, I was never going to write the book. That's promoted as the book that was never going to be written, that was never going to be published. Because throughout my entire life, when I left the Adelaide Hilton as the PR and I had the central role in Adelaide, people were always saying to me, you've got to write, you've got to write, you've got to write. You've got so many stories and you've got so many interesting tales to tell.
But you were lucky enough to get a really good launch with all this too. Let's just have a look at some of the press that you got, because that was from Confidential. This is the new book that makes sense. Does it just drop a few names there?
Okay, Kevin Sheedy did the launch for me in Melbourne, and guests John Elliott and Des Tuddingham are all great mates and supporters, and we're all part of a hope and a vision and a desire to make a difference and
to improve circumstances.
Set up sanctuaries is the first issue. We actually have this sanctuary in mind, which is not a mental health institution, but a replacement for a mental health institution. And these sanctuaries are complementary support.
More of like a health fund?
Absolutely. In that context, you're right.
Healthy mind.
Janet.
More of a healthy mind than a healthy body.
Both. I mean, I understand that medical intervention is necessary to a point, but really, at the end of the day, it needs to have a balance, and sanctuaries will be in places that have gardens and more of a retreat style. I would have loved the Carmelite Monastery, but Southern Cross Homes have got that now.
Okay.
And there are other places, though, who are in the way of looking to set up the sanctuary in the first ever. Getting back to Leon's story.
That's a great ambition for that to happen, isn't it? So with the book, well, actually, let's leave the book for a tick. Let's just take you back right to when you were young, because all of our paths have crossed when we were young.
I know.
About 4.5 years ago when we were all 20. Or less.
Yes. No. We were... in fact, there was a photograph. We'll show the photograph in a minute. But we're both in this little catalogue of being in a quest. In those days, when we first started modelling, you would go into these quests, as they called them. And I think we must have been 17 or 18 at the time. So we're going back a couple of years.
Oh, much older than me, obviously. You worked as a catwalk model and photography model?
Yeah, I did 12 years overseas in London, and DJs my it was so much work back then, wasn't there? It's not like now.
Yes.
It's just nothing there at all.
But you're a local girl.
I'm a local Adelaide girl, absolutely.
So it was a local girl that went to the world.
Yeah.
But what happened next?
I actually got off the catwalk after about 12 years, and I actually thought, well, I wanted to get another sense of life, and I felt that I'd been given so much, I wanted to give back. So I became a lifeline counsellor, worked with Youthline and street kids, and became very broad in my thinking and looked at things like transactional analysis and all sorts of different techniques that were obviously parcel of the tuition I was given, and it really expanded and broadened my mind and has really added to my sense of understanding of life and what's possible. It changed my life, and certainly I'm about no limitations and being the best you can be and striving for a better world.
So that brought you back to Australia then, or?
I was back in Australia. I was only away for 18 months, as it transpired. It was supposed to be about, it was 15 months. It was going to be 12, and then we extended because my former husband and I then did a 4-month tour in a camper van in Europe, you know how you do. You know, which was a lot of fun, and it was an amazing way to see the world.
But then you ended up really looking after a hotel, a very major one.
I did. It was the only international hotel, so I was very lucky, and I actually...
So we're talking about the Hilton.
The Adelaide Hilton International was the only international hotel, and so everybody that came to Adelaide stayed there. And so obviously I was a very privileged position to be able to meet, to get to know, and sometimes to get up very close and personal and to understand the lives behind the lives that these
Well, we've got
people...
some photos here too of some of the people that you obviously looked after during that period of time.
Sure.
And they were interesting days too because of the Grand Prix starting here in Adelaide.
Yeah, that's George Harrison and me. We look a nice couple, look almost like soulmates, don't we? He was an interesting character. A lot of, up and down circumstances. He was, very anti the media and was very shy and introspective, and he liked to meditate, and you didn't want to knock on his door when he was doing a meditation session.
I can understand that, but some of the other people in that shot.
That's Alain Prost and Senna, and that's, to my understanding, the very last ever photo of them together. It was in the Grange
That's the
restaurant.
number 4 photo there?
Yep, that's the one there in the middle, and the two of them looked like they were maybe nice enough to each other, but they were fierce enemies, and they were not exactly a happy duo. And there was a separation of sorts.
And look at you there.
The team. That's front cover mag's photo of me.
That's when we first met. That's
Isn't that
what
amazing?
she looked like when we first met.
Hard to believe, really,
That's how I
after all these years.
It is. Well, it is. When we all look back at some of the photos from the past, you think, was that ever me? Did I ever do that,
the photo of me, it's just...
Because I haven't aged, but others...
None of us have. I mean, we all look the same. Time stands still, and we're on our time.
Exactly, quite right.
Well done.
And actually, that's the point you were making before, though, isn't it? This is really about enjoying and understanding that we've got this go at life, make the best of it.
Definitely. I mean, I think...
But this is what also changed some of your thinking with the book, wasn't it? And why you've moved into the thought process of trying to help people who are suffering from that sort of, I suppose, is it like mental exhaustion, do you think?
I think that life has sped up so much to the point where a lot of families are feeling the strain, and you hear just things, snippets of the police just picked up 45 people, none for drink driving or for drugs.
All for drugs, yes.
That's frightening.
It is.
So the level, the degree that people are using escapism to deal with life is frightening. And we don't really have a plan for that. We don't have places where people can go. My own brother, he was a beautiful soul, the most gorgeous human being you could possibly have as a brother and a soulmate, and I was born on his first birthday, and as I said, he was Lee and Leon, and I was always Eve and Eve. So when he passed away suddenly, just literally a week before our birthday it was just such a shock, in 2004, but he had been dealing with his own issues, mental health. So
really this book is a way of paying tribute to him and wrapping your life around. So the book is really your whole life experience in a way, isn't it?
It is an autobiography, but it's also a philosophy of life and something I want to share, because so many people have put barriers in their way as to what they can or can't achieve. I'm a believer in dreams and insights, and I didn't write that book from my own willpower. I had a dream the morning when I said that I wouldn't write the book, and it's actually publicised as the book that was never going to be written or published. I woke up and I remembered the dream I was having, and it was the 25th of January 2004, and I had a pain in the chest, and I looked at the clock and it was 7:13, and I remembered being on a stage with two women, and one was an Indigenous woman and the other one I don't know, and there was myself, and I remembered turning to the Indigenous woman and asking her, should I write the book? And she said yes. So I put my dressing gown on and I went to the computer.
So that
that's
really
amazing.
was. Yeah,
and the book
amazing.
is available from bookstores, and can it be purchased online?
Absolutely, online, but all good bookstores. I'm doing a Mother's Day book signing on the 11th of May. Please all come down. I don't want to be the only one there. On the 11th of May between 12:30 and 1:30.
Okay, well, just stay with us, because we're going to find out more about how to go fishing in just a moment. Welcome back.
Yes, our next guest. Yes. Look, stop it. Tom DiVitorrio is here. I like that.
Yes.
Tom, welcome to the program. Tom's
Pleasure, thank
from
you.
Go Get 'em Fishing Charters.
Absolutely.
So you do go get them here in South Australian waters?
I try to.
You try to?
I try to.
I guess there's no guarantee for something like this, is there?
No, there isn't.
Is it seasonal though?
It is seasonal.
Yeah.
It is seasonal. Your majority of the work comes at this time of the period, from about October right up to about April, May.
Right.
And then it starts to scale down a little bit.
So basically what you do is people come in, you take them out for a day?
For a day,
A week?
weeks.
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 Where do you go for weeks?
Hide in
Depending
a
on the
cove
package,
somewhere.
they hire me for the whole week.
Yeah.
And we do various different trips, but they're all full day trips.
Oh, okay. So it's like a camping trip? Is it like
No,
camping or
no.
camels or?
They'll stay at
On
a
the
caravan. They'll stay at a caravan
okay.
park.
Oh, good so.
So we'll come back in every night.
Yeah.
And but I'll change it up a little bit. We might go early in the morning, might go late at night, and come back later at night.
Yeah.
So
let's
Just a
just have a
change.
look at the sort of vessel. See, I'm learning the lingo now. The sort of vessel that you take people out on, Tom. This is the vessel. I would have called it a ship or a boat or a floating device.
Yes,
but
because we have no idea.
yeah, charter boat.
boat.
Yes.
Charter boat, basically.
And it's a lovely big vessel. And then people obviously chuck their line over and hopefully pull in...
Hopefully pull in something big. Or small. Just
too
depends on the trip.
Like some of these fish we're looking at now.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
some biggish ones there.
There are
What
biggish ones.
are the best fishes that people get in these waters?
Basically, the majority of them is all snapper. Your King George whiting, which
Tuna?
is and tuna.
You're
Gummies.
allowed to go into that tuna area because it's obviously...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I suppose most of the tuna would come from farms now, wouldn't they?
No.
No?
No. These are all school sort of fish.
Okay.
Basically come
Not
from...
yours. I mean, the ones
Not
that
mine.
we tend to eat in tins and cans.
Yeah, well, they're all processed, but they do come from...
No, I mean, they would have been born and bred in a pool somewhere.
Oh, in a pen, you mean?
In a pen, yes.
Yeah, you're talking about Port Lincoln tuna
Haven't
pen.
quite got the
So
lingo
which is
right
right,
then?
yeah.
Yes,
No, but
absolutely.
I've got friends that do have their own boat and they go out fishing. Some of these tunas are absolutely
Absolutely.
massive. It's like,
How do you get them in the can?
well, how do you get them in the boat? This is the thing.
That's the
too.
question. That is the question.
Yeah.
Tom, how did it all start for you? Were you a boy on the jetty throwing your line over with a
I was.
open safety pin on the end like we were
Yeah, I
as
was.
children?
I pretty much was. It started off, my father's uncle, he was fishing off the jetties. And then basically we started to get a little bit older. I mean, I was only 4 years old, mind you, so my brother was 6 at the time. So we ended up going to Second Valley and...
Oh, yes.
That was my dad's favourite fishing spot.
That was my family.
Where he would go and feed the fish. We always said Dad's gone to feed the fish.
So it was Second Valley, Rapid Bay, all those
Yeah.
sorts of areas. Used to go away, you know, little family picnic. And so...
Where were your family from?
Originally from Italy.
So were you born
Italian.
here? Or
I was born here.
You were born here,
Yeah.
So they'd well and truly adjusted by
Yeah, oh, yeah, for
they'd
sure.
found the fishing spots equivalent to home.
Yeah. But, you know, on the jetty, so there's not much you can really do.
No.
But my first fish was a flathead, which there was an older sort of gentleman that was on that jetty at the time, and Dad bought our rod from Kmart back then.
Yes.
You know, I've still got it today, mind you. So
Have you?
It's a bit of a
Gorgeous.
sentimental piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was, but I was only there for a couple of minutes, and he was there for 4 hours.
Gobsmacked.
Right.
How can he do this, little
Overwhelmed.
tucker?
Overwhelmed, yeah. So
Fish love you.
Absolutely. So then
Don't get him near your aquarium at home.
So
They
we're
might be
doing a lot.
jumping out.
Yeah, we were doing a lot over the jetty. But then at the age of 9, Dad ended up buying a boat, and basically just ended up with a boat.
Yeah.
Ever since. So
Did the
And that
boats
was
get
it?
bigger?
it got bigger when we were getting bigger.
Yeah.
Because obviously the boat was too small. So we started off with a 15-footer, 15-foot half cabin. And then we shifted out to a 20-footer. So realistically, I mean, getting older, so... But that doesn't
Bigger
justice.
toys for bigger boys.
But, you know, your first one is like a learning sort of curve,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
11 years of experience through that. The age of 16, we started taking the boat out on our own, between me and my brother, because we were just 16.
Yeah.
Back then, it was back then.
Yes.
And it was good. So...
And obviously you could swim.
Yeah,
We
did you
can.
wear your life jacket?
No.
No.
Yeah, that's the
No,
point
we
I was
can
about to
swim.
make.
We-
Times were different then, though.
They were.
And
so
how
much.
did we survive? When you think about it, with
well-
all of the things that we do today, I guess if you save just one life by having all those precautions in place,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
worth it.
Yeah.
But the sort of, in many ways, the risk and the fun of the risk has gone, hasn't it?
Yeah. it
Have you
has.
ever really felt that you're in trouble at any time? Have you had some moments?
Not really.
You've been pretty safe.
Yeah, I've thought about a lot of things, and you know, I'm how can you say it? It's pretty. If you turn around and say to someone, you know, look, I think it's going to be in a problem. We may be in a problem, but just hang on. But you don't, if you know,
Yeah.
in that sort of sense.
No.
But boating sort of side of it, I've never really dealt with as far as, you know, being in a problem or situation of...
Is that because you can read the weather and read the circumstance and avoid it?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. And that you never ever, like, will leave the back of your head.
No.
That'll always stay with you because you never muck around with the water.
Only
No,
just that
ever.
recently there were a couple of fishermen in a boat, and there was apparently this massive wave came and knocked them over. One swam to shore and the other one clung to the boat, and you sort of think, well, how did they not see that coming? How could they have avoided that?
The wave,
Yeah,
you mean?
you know, or have
Well, the
avoided
Titanic
it.
didn't see the
Oh,
iceberg,
no,
did it?
but-
I suppose.
So you haven't.
There's
had-
always... Look, I did hear about it. I was on the water at that time. I didn't see it. I heard it over the radio that it come through as a mayday. And I was about 50 kilometres away from that situation.
Yeah.
I've actually rang up and spoken to the sea rescue at that time. I was ready to pack up and go pick them up.
Yeah.
You know, because I would have been there pretty quick.
Yeah.
But in certain circumstances, the weather it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best
So
for me. It was.
to put yourself in a
It
situation.
wasn't. It was uncomfortable, but he
You
had a
big
smaller
enough
boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking 8.5 metres that I have, so
Yeah.
it's a bit different from 3 metres.
Yeah, oh, of course. And any wave would almost knock you over.
That's
So
right.
when you do your charters, how many people do you usually take with you?
I take up to 6
Yeah.
customers.
Do you have any women?
A lot.
That,
Do you?
that
Yeah.
just went through
No,
my mind. Was it a
no.
boys' day out or was
Like,
it a
yeah,
mixed day?
couples.
It's a mixed, couple females that come on their own.
Those ruthless girls.
Oh, just adventurous. I think
Friends.
that's
Adventurous.
great.
Just friends, group of friends, you know, partners and everyone.
Is it just a pleasure also of a day out on the ocean?
Most of the time it is.
Yeah.
For them.
And do they catch the fish and kiss them and throw them back?
No. Some people do.
Which does bring us to the leading question here. It's your question.
What do they do with the fish? Obviously, if they're from South Australia, they can take them home. They take them home.
Everyone
they're the right
takes
size.
them home.
Everyone?
Everyone takes them home.
What if you come from America and have to fly off and...
Then they'll pass it on over to the customers that's there. They'll
they're kind enough. Okay. You don't freeze them and send them...
Sometimes... Well, it depends on situations.
If it's a really big one or something.
Yeah, which I've done in some cases. I've actually cleaned them up, snap froze them for them and...
Parcelled it up and sent it on.
Parcelled it, but they have to check with the airlines,
FedEx.
Obviously.
Yes, I suppose you could chop
the
them
airlines are the ones that are critical. But if they're here for a few days, then I can do a lot of things, you know.
I suppose when you
talk to the restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you think...
Some do it, some don't.
Right, when you think about it though, I guess the ocean's the last place where you can really sort of catch food and eat it straight away, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't go out shooting animals or rabbits and things anymore.
Do they? Don't they?
No,
I think
you're
they
surprised.
do.
Would
Yeah.
I?
think so.
Oh, we better find out about that. If you do that, let us know and we'll talk to you.
I've got a mate of mine that goes for ducks and all that sort of
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, in the sky, you mean?
He goes duck shooting, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I've never been able to cope with the poor little
can't either.
fishies going, no, but the fish, when they do all that, when they're, gassed,
okay.
I can't look, I
No,
can't look.
don't worry.
But I do like fish.
Each
My
to
wife
their
says
own.
that.
Yes, I can
She
understand
can't see that, yeah.
Tom, it's been great to chat with you because I know you've been out today and thanks for making the effort to
It's a
come
pleasure.
in. But
Did you bring us some fish?
No.
all right, sorry, end of segment. We'll be back in a minute and we'll just have a little bit more of a chat to Tom and we'll be talking to our first guest as
Yvonne.
well. Yvonne.
Well, I don't know, fishing, that's really... I'm hungry now.
Oh, you're always hungry. Oh, goodness.
I'm not.
But what
It's
an
good for
exciting
your diet.
thing to do.
Yes.
It is, isn't it? But you obviously have licences and certificates in first aid and all those sorts of things to take people out.
You have to.
Yep.
As an operator, I mean, you have to have all that sort of degree of level and much more if you want to. So there's a lot that you can, as far as licensing can do. I'm just about to go for another course at the moment, so just to keep up all those sorts of new
You need to
updates.
have-
Yeah, right.
You know? So yeah.
And Yvonne, your book, we've already established that it's available all over the place in good stores and probably
Dimmicks
some bad
in particular,
ones.
Dimmicks and Dillon's
and obviously you're interested in federal governments and local governments being aware of the issues and helping with funding.
Absolutely. In fact, Ken Wyatt, who is the first Indigenous Minister and for aged care, he was at the Ayers House launch for me and stood by me and we absolutely want the funding from the government. I just don't want money thrown at mental health. The election is Labor, Liberal will give this much, they'll give that much. And it's a bit competitive and it's great seeing mental health being part of an election platform profile. It has never raised that level before, ever, to my knowledge. Wow. So we're just hoping that...
we're becoming better educated, that's the thing, of all of these things, and we're understanding that it's an illness, it's nothing else, and that's what we have to cope with.
And we wish you the very best.
We certainly do, and we hope you catch
Thank
some
you.
big ones next time. And in the meantime, we hope you do too, don't we?
Well, catch some big ones.
I always try.
And we'll see you very soon. Just remember we're on Facebook and you can find out more about the program each week. Also, you can dial us up on YouTube and the address is...
It's Our Time TV.
More than that.
Oh.
TV channel.
Channel.
It's Our Time TV channel and you can see some past episodes and
You
see
can.
your friends and all of that stuff. So until next time, keep yourself nice. Till then, Janice.
Bye for now.